All right. All right. Welcome, eclipse lovers, astrology lovers, our Astrology Hub family. It's so great to be here with you again today. I am here with astrologer Donna Woodwell, and we are doing a live Q&A. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes to let people join us here live. And so if you're here, give us a little thumbs up or a heart or a comment. We are watching them, we're paying attention, and it's so amazing to have this opportunity to connect. I am loving Facebook Live. It has just made everything feel so alive. I mean, really, this ability to like instantly connect with everybody. And so Donna and I have been gathering your questions. We did our last Facebook Live on Friday, so we haven't had that much time, but there have been some great questions that have come in. And we're also going to talk about a few other topics that we wanted to bring up in this eclipse conversation that we've started. So Donna, the first thing I wanted to just mention is that you had said that today we're having some solar flares, and it's because I showed up to the call kind of like harried and busy, and so you mentioned that we're having some solar flares. Can you talk to the audience a little bit about what's happening in our
Sure.
cosmos today?
We are actually entering what's typically called a solar minimum when the sun gets really quiet, and it's been very quiet all year. There hasn't been much activity, but the last few days there have been giant sunspots forming, which again at this time is unusual, and we are actually under a solar flare warning. 60% chance of M class and 20% of X class, and X class are the more potent ones that can disrupt telecommunications and satellites and things. We're not in any physical danger here. Obviously, we've been on Earth for lots and lots of years as humans. We're not going to be zapped. We're not going to all disappear. But it can affect telecommunications. And for those who are really psychically attuned to the planet, people can end up with headaches, kind of feeling this pulsing in the middle of their head, or very, very frazzled, jangled nerves, because we are all connected to the energetic field of the planet. So we'll see. We'll have to keep the news, watch the news. Spaceweather.com is the place that has all the updates.
Okay, and so this is today, and or like are we looking at this for the week, or what's?
Well, you never know with the sun. The sun cycles so very fast. It kind of depends. Things go behind the sun and you can't see them, and they don't know what's going to come out back facing us again. So really, I would say watching it over the next couple of days, especially today and tomorrow for sure. And then we will see where it goes from there.
Okay, fantastic, Donna. Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that that intensity, but I don't know if that's just because it's Monday and because life is busy, or if it's the solar flares. But okay, so I am going to gather our questions. Actually, the first question that I wanted to ask as people are joining, I saw Marjorie, I saw Samantha. It's so nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so let's see. Eclipses happen 4 times a year. We all have them in our natal chart. We're all born after a pair of eclipses. So my question is, why is there still such a mystery around them? Like, why aren't more astrologers talking about them? Why isn't there a bigger understanding of eclipses and how they influence us, depending on what degrees they fall in our chart, when they happen, throughout our lifetime? Why the mystery? That's what I would love to know.
I think that's an excellent question. And I would guess that part of the reason why eclipses haven't been such a big deal lately is because we haven't seen one over a major inhabited area like the United States in 100 years. And so when you see something like this, it makes you much more curious about what's going on. We did use eclipses. It was a big part of what was called karmic astrology in the early part of the 20th century, but then we did see an eclipse in the early part of the 20th century. So that may be part of it. Another part of it just depends on where you look, and different forms of astrology. As I said, karmic astrology use them a lot. They use the draconic zodiac and the prenatal eclipses. It just fell out of fashion in the last few years.
Okay, I'm very curious now. What is karmic astrology, and why don't we hear about it? I've never heard of someone calling themselves a karmic astrologer. I've actually never heard you talk about it. What is that?
Well, okay, astrology comes in many flavors over the years, keeps reinventing itself. And, just like every teenager thinks that they invented the wheel, really when they got it from the people before them, everything has been reinvented by someone else handing it to them. So karmic astrologers actually was one of the outgrowths of the Theosophical Society at the end of the 19th century. They were all interested in karma and reincarnation and our spiritual development. It was kind of a merging of Eastern philosophy, and it was the first where we got the words New Age from. And karmic astrology came out of that. They were the first to use the nodes as a position, the moon's nodes, where the path of the moon and the sun appeared across in the sky, as a way to talk about the bringing in of our karmic evolution. And they used the prenatal eclipses, and they used the draconic zodiac. And the draconic zodiac is the zodiac based on the north node, and using it as a way to gauge the soul's evolutionary path with a whole new zodiac flavor. So yay, all kinds of fun things that you can use. And of course, eclipses were really important because they were using the nodes so often.
Wow, very fascinating. So
Yeah.
Theosophy, Rudolf Steiner. So my children go to a Waldorf school. Rudolf Steiner was a theosophist. And so are there any karmic astrologers now, today? I mean, do you know any?
That's an excellent question. I'm sure there are, because there's always someone around who studied from someone who studied from someone.
Okay, so if anybody out there listening knows of a karmic astrologer, I'm interested. And I'd love to talk to them on Astrology Hub, because this is one area that we just haven't covered.
We can track it down for you. I have a pile of books, so it would just be finding people who study with those folks.
All right, awesome. Okay, good. All right, so I am going to go to the questions that we have. I want to say hello to Natalie and Nicoletta, and who else is here? Trudy, Kathy, and everyone who's going to be joining in and watching this recording later. Hello to all of you. It's so wonderful to have you here. Okay, so let's take some more questions from Stella. She was looking at this week's free gift, and she wanted to know, for the eclipse, what kind of chart do we use to figure out the houses? Placidus, whole sign, or any other?
Okay, so the free gift that we gave out on Friday.
That we're still giving out, by the way. We'll put the link in this chat so you can still access this gift.
Okay, so it says, how do you make the eclipse personal? By figuring out which house it is in your chart. If you are using the simplest version of astrology, the kind that they use to make horoscopes, people use whole sign charts. That's just a house system that makes every house exactly 30 degrees. They match the signs. But for those of you who have been practicing astrology for a while, who are using quadrant house systems like Placidus or Koch or one of the others, feel free to use your own house system. And then the chart wheel that we designed is not going to work so simply for you. You just need to find the eclipse degree, which is at 28 degrees of Leo in your chart and wherever it happens to fall.
Okay, so the guide that we gave is
a whole sign.
Is whole sign. Okay. And then if you want to use another system, then you just need to see where 28 degrees Leo falls.
Exactly.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So we did just post the link to that free gift. It is a blueprint that helps you figure out where the eclipse is falling for you in your chart, in what house. It also gives you essential questions that you can ask to ensure that this eclipse for you is used as a portal of positive transformation. So these are reflective questions. You can ask yourself these questions and really use this eclipse as an opportunity to transform in positive ways. So, all right, let's go to the next question, which is from Mary. Is the impact of an eclipse in our personal lives altered if it happens to land in an intercepted sign in our natal chart?
Okay, well, that's an excellent question based on the one we just asked before. When you are using whole sign charts, there's no such thing as intercepted signs. It doesn't happen because every sign equals one house, period, end of discussion. Makes the math real simple, and why we can make those easy, pretty chart wheels. But if you are using a house system that creates intercepted houses, modern astrologers would say that if it falls in an intercepted sign, it has a more difficult time expressing itself. I think the modern analogy is like a house that has no door. It can't get out. So how this plays out in your own life, I don't know of anybody who has been studying eclipses and intercepted signs to my knowledge, but it might be something for you to think about and work on. As this is why every astrologer should keep a journal, so that we can like tabulate all of our information and share. Maybe in this group we'll have people who have the eclipse in the ninth house, and then some of it have it in the ninth house intercepted, and we can compare how it played out for each person.
Yes, that is one benefit of this group that is
It is.
emerging. And so we're encouraging everyone to share so that we can actually do a little bit of informal research with all of this,
Right.
because we do have a big group. It's growing. We have over 800 people in this group. I think we'll probably, maybe have a couple thousand. So it would be great to compare how these eclipses that are coming up in the summer are affecting all of us. Okay. Okay, so Trudy is asking, I find natal chart analysis reflects how I feel internally, going deeper than what the outside world sees, while solar-based interpretations denote physical, material manifestations in my life. Any thoughts on all of this?
I think if I just interpret this correctly, you're talking about the difference between just like our free gift, that you can use it from the point of view of a rising sign, which astrologers would call a radix chart, technically, RADIX, or from the point of view of your solar chart, so that everything lines up with whatever your sun sign is. That's what horoscopes use. So do I think that your radix chart is more powerful than your solar chart? Yes, I think, but we can also do charts from all the different planets' point of view. You can not only make a solar chart, you could make a lunar chart and get it from the moon's point of view. And there are different zodiacs. We use a tropical zodiac, which is the solar zodiac in the West, but in Vedic astrology, they use the sidereal, which is much more moon-based. So that's the point of astrology. There's so many different versions of it. It's just like constantly being able to switch your map around to get a different point of view on the same question, which is one of the reasons why it makes it endlessly fascinating. But to get back to your original question, do I think that the sun point of view is more external than the natal chart point of view? I guess that's one way of looking at it. It would be more of a light, full, rational consciousness point of view, as opposed to the moon, which would be much more subtle, subconscious point of view. But I don't know, I guess more research is required.
Okay, great. And Donna, this is a question that is going back to our previous question about intercepted sign. Samantha wants to know what an intercepted sign is.
Oh, okay. All right. So the zodiac is 12 signs. It's a 360-degree circle. You divide it by 12. Each one is 30 degrees. Period. End of discussion. It's just math. In Western astrology, we have developed different ways of bringing that celestial sphere down to Earth. And where we talk about the Earth-based things are provided by the houses in a chart. And even though you might have learned one house system because that's what your astrology software defaults to, or that's what your teachers used, there's actually currently 23 and counting different kinds of house systems. And they all do the mathematics a little bit differently. The original house system was whole sign. It also happens to be what horoscopes use. We came up with equal houses and a whole bunch of others. So the whole bunch of others are based largely on latitude, how far north or south of the equator that you are. And the farther away you get from the equator, it creates this mathematical effect so that you can have more than one sign included in every house of the zodiac, because some houses are really, really tiny and some get really, really spread out. And again, just depends on the latitude that you're at. So intercepted signs happen when you are using a quadrant house system and you are far enough away from the equator at certain points of the year to have very squished houses or very large houses. I know it's a technical answer, but that's the answer.
Okay, thanks, Donna. All right, so for those of you who are just joining us, we are doing a Facebook Q&A live with Donna Woodwell. Our focus is on eclipses in general, with an emphasis on the Great American Eclipse that's happening this summer. So welcome if you're joining us. Also, Donna in the beginning talked about the solar flares. Do you want to just repeat what you said about the solar flares happening today, just so people can...
We are under a solar flare watch today. It's kind of like a storm watch for energetic storms. The sun is theoretically entering a quiet period, and so it's very unusual to be under a solar storm watch, you know, this far into its solar minimum. So if you want to find out more information, definitely go to spaceweather.com. When we do have solar flares and heightened solar activity, especially sensitive humans can be very feel a little more agitated, a little more edgy. Sometimes headaches, especially like right up between your eyeballs, kind of headaches. So I keep watching the weather. As far as I know, nothing's happened yet, but the next few days will be the potential for stronger solar flares. They don't hurt us. We've been here forever and we're still here, but they can knock out our satellite system. They can knock out communication systems and create temporary annoyances for us human creatures on that level.
Okay, so I'm very curious to know if you out there watching and listening, if you are experiencing any unusual effects of solar flares today. The reason why this came up in my conversation with Donna is because I definitely came to the call kind of all busy, I'll say, like really kind of strung up. Or tightly strung or wound. So then she said, well, you know, the solar flare thing. So I definitely wanted to clue you all in on what's happening with that.
If this is affecting you, water is your best friend. Drink lots of water and try to stay as grounded as you can. If you can go out and hug a tree, that's even better. If it becomes too much of an issue, you can always take a saltwater bath. That'll help calm things down too. So there's things that you can do. If it gets really bad, take some Advil. That'll help.
All right. Okay. I love it. You're so full of amazing information for us, Donna. Thank you. I would like to invite anyone who has a question to write it in the chat. I am monitoring it. I see you all, Lisa and Lynn and Bonnie and Kathy and everyone that's here watching us. So thank you so much for joining us. You can post questions here. Or if you think of a question after this call, you can post it in our Q&A graphic that we have in our group. And we're always referring back to this area to gather questions for this call that we are doing weekly. So just post them there. We may not find questions that you post in other areas throughout Facebook. So it's best to post them under the Q&A graphic. And we normally have that graphic pinned to the top so you can find it easily. And that's where to ask your questions so we can answer them next time. And or if you have questions right now, you can ask them in the chat. Okay, so let's go to our next one. We have a question from Pat. She says, I pulled the prenatal eclipses for me, and they are also on the Leo-Aquarius axis. Does this mean that I am doubly blessed this year? Sarcasm. If I am repeating themes, how do I determine the predominant theme for this eclipse? And that's a real question.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so eclipses happen in cycles. Remember we talked about this a couple of sessions ago. The nodes of the moon, which is where eclipses happen, precess around the zodiac. And so the full cycle is like 18.6 years or something like that, where we'll go through like all of the signs of the zodiac on a regular basis. So every 18 and a half years or so, we're going to go right back to the same place. You divide that in half, so about every 9 years, you're on the same axis of eclipses. So you can figure out how old you are. If you're old, like a multiple of 9 to this year, you're going to be coming back to where your eclipses were at the time you were born. I know this because my south solar eclipse was at 27 degrees Leo. I thought that was really cool when I looked up my prenatal eclipse, and it's actually conjunct this one. Anyway, so I'm with you, Pat. I'm waiting to see what happens too, because I'm having these same themes emphasized again in my own life. But this is kind of like having a solar return, you know, coming back with your same rising sign. In a way, it feels familiar to you to be taking the messages of that you're born with to the next level. And so it's forcing you to dig a little deeper into the themes that you were born with. And I think that's fantastically fun. And I'm really glad we get to talk about it together.
Awesome. Okay, Donna, thank you. All right, from Karen, how would you describe the prenatal lunar eclipse conjunct the South Node?
Okay, so your prenatal eclipses are always going to be very near your nodes. because that's the definition of eclipses. Eclipses can only happen when the sun is within 18 degrees of one of the nodes. And so if it's a lunar eclipse, it can only happen when the moon is within like 13 degrees or so of one of the nodes. So there's a good chance that the eclipses are going to be near the nodes because the nodes don't move that fast. And it's always going to be around there. So really the question becomes, what's the difference between a south node prenatal eclipse and a north node prenatal eclipse? So the north node prenatal eclipse is where what's attracting you. Traditionally speaking, the north node is what is coming towards you, and the south node is what you're releasing. So the north node eclipse is what you're being attracted to or what's coming towards you, and the south node is where you're releasing things. So if you have a south node natal eclipse, you're either releasing some things like old habits and beliefs and ways you think about things, or if it's a lunar one, it's more like your old emotional tendencies, your own instinctual urges or patterns you developed in family life, something along those lines.
And how does one figure out where their prenatal eclipse is?
Well, folks have been very kind in the group to post some links that you can find them. There's a table at Cafe Astrology that I think someone's put up. Someone also mentioned, I had a copy here, Jan Spiller's book on spiritual astrology has tables in the back of it. But there are several different places where there are tables online where you can look up where the eclipses have to be. And I think that we may be able to arrange that as part of Astrology Hub's gifting practice.
That would be fantastic.
I think we can do that.
Good idea, Donna. Write that on your list, okay?
It is on my list.
Okay, good. All right. So Anna, or Anna, let me know if I'm saying it right when I say Anna, is wondering, is being born on an eclipse a big deal?
Well, it doesn't happen very often, so you can think about it as being a big deal from that point of view. I mean, eclipses only last a few hours, a couple times a year, so you are in a very select club if you were born on during an eclipse. Some people would have claimed it is certainly a sign of someone who has a destiny, a special kind of destiny that has to do with the collective. Because they'd say they're moments of, evolutionary or karmic, however you want to think about it, transformation. I had a client not too long ago where she was actually born under a solar eclipse while it was happening. And I mean, really, really tight. And she had come to the session feeling like she really, really needed to change her life. And it was so amazing. She had this t-shirt on that looked exactly like the path of the sun, across the United States for the Great American Eclipse. And I'm like, oh, honey, you're in for the transform. And so anyway, she ended up quitting her job. She knew it was getting harder and harder with the people around her. So she sort of half quit, half forced to leave. Sold all of the stuff that she owned, bought a camper, and is like going around the country like as a nomad, which is what she always wanted to do. And she says, I'm in such a better place. I'm so excited for this eclipse to happen now that I've gotten rid of all the stuff that was no longer serving me. I feel like I can bring it in for this new one. So,
I love that.
I mean, that was an eclipse baby really being activated by an eclipse that was going to hit her chart. So that's, of course, an extreme case. But I think that people who are born under eclipses can see the world a little differently and can lead the way for the rest of us.
Yeah, so last time there were a lot of people wondering about Donald Trump and the eclipse that's happening. The Great American Eclipse is happening in August. So can you talk about where it's hitting him in his chart and what significance that might have for him?
Interesting is Donald Trump may be an eclipse baby. So think about that. We are not 100% sure that we have an accurate birth time for Donald Trump. So that's a caveat, just put it out there, because if we don't have the time right, then it doesn't hit his chart the same way. But assuming the chart with 29 Leo rising is accurate, that means that because that's where the star Regulus is. That's also where the eclipse degree is. So the eclipse degree would be exactly conjunct his ascendant in his case, which would suggest that he's in for a period of accelerated change of some kind. Now, what that accelerated change is entails, that is an excellent question. And we may have to get a lot closer because some of it is determined by what decisions individuals make. And Kathy Beale gave me an article where someone wrote something for the Times or some related thing where they predicted that Donald Trump was going to have a transcendental experience and all of a sudden come to a new realization and become the first president of the Aquarian age thanks to the spiritual enlightenment because of this eclipse. Other people say he's going to get impeached and kicked out of office. So it's a wide spectrum of what astrologers are predicting, everything from enlightenment to alien invasion, somebody predicted, and to impeachment. And I guess we will see when we get there. But I think all astrologers agree that assuming the chart is correct, given how it's affecting the chart of the United States is really in for some accelerated period of change for how we do business in the world.
And you have mentioned on previous calls that it is a very clear distinction for all of us to be choosing fear or love. So the Great American Eclipse is offering us, I think we're doing that every day, all the time, with our thoughts, with our actions, with how we interact with people, with how we interact with ourselves. I think we're in a constant choice between fear and love. However, the eclipse is really bringing up this opportunity to focus on this question, both personally and collectively. And so that is one of the main reasons why we have started this conversation at Astrology Hub, to bring us all together and support each other in choosing love. Because the truth is, with technology and with this ability for us to connect, we have an opportunity to really affect change in a positive way. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's sort of like the underlying, I've just like let the secret out. But it's the truth behind why we're interested in having this conversation. It's because we want to make sure there's beacons of light all around the globe who are holding this vision of positive change, of what's possible. And one of the interesting things in our Year of Astrology group, many of you are in our Year of Astrology group, and we have a different astrologer every month who is bringing up a theme that the lunar cycle is really highlighting. And one of the questions from Tom Jacobs is the astrologer, one of the questions that he had us meditate on was, what is it that's holding me back from being precisely who I am? So what is it that's holding me back from being precisely who I am? And I invite all of you to consider that question as well. I did a little Facebook Live on it yesterday in the Year of Astrology group. But the question, the story you told about the woman who decided to be a nomad and quit her job and drive around the country and do what she's always wanted to do, that is an opportunity that we all have right now to really evaluate what is it that's holding us back from stepping into that full and pure and true expression of ourselves. I think this is a personal question. I think collectively, there was a vision for this country, and what has made it so that that vision isn't quite the reality that we're all experiencing? What is it that's holding our country back from, being precisely who we want to be as a nation? So I think all of these things are really interesting conversation, and I hope that we can continue this dialogue in this group as well. If you're interested in joining the Year of Astrology, registration for it is closed right now, but you can get on the wait list. So if you go to yearofastrology.com, you can put your name on the wait list, and we are going to open up registration again soon. Okay, one last thing before we wrap up. The blueprint, the Astrology Eclipse blueprint, is available for you right now for free. It's a gift from Astrology Hub to you. You can click on the link in this chat. It's also going to be above the video if you're catching us later. So this is going to help you figure out where the eclipse in the summer, the Great American Eclipse, where it's falling in your chart, and then key questions that you can ask yourself so that you can use the eclipse as an opportunity for positive transformation. So I do hope that you have an opportunity to check that out. Donna, thank you so much for being with us again. Thank you everyone for joining. It is such a pleasure to share this space with you. And I will be on live with Sam Reynolds, another amazing astrologer. I'll be on live with him on Thursday. We're going to be talking eclipses in general. We're going to be talking Great American Eclipse. So check us out. It's at 12:30 Pacific time in the Astrology Hub main Facebook group, or not group, but our public page. So if you don't already like Astrology Hub, make sure you do that. And I'll be on live with Sam on Thursday. So the other thing is I'll be on live again with Donna next Tuesday, 9:30 Oh, Hawaii time, sorry. I'm going to totally confuse you. 12:30 Pacific time next Tuesday. Live Q&A with Donna. Post your questions in the Q&A graphic and we will talk to you all then. All right. Thank you.
Bye,
Aloha.
everybody.